Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to pop on and share the creation of my vision board for this year. I sat down to create my vision board for my one little word, and I figured might as well film the process. And so, yeah, that's what I'm sharing today. So I am taking Ali Edwards' One Little Word course, and this month is all about vision boards. And Lucretia created a bunch of different videos showing different ways of how to create a vision board. Now, I love creating vision boards. I love mood boards. I like looking through magazines and clippings and all the things. I love vision boards, and so I knew that I wanted to make a vision board in my journal. But Lou also shared mind maps, like creating a mind map for your vision, and I decided to create a mind map. And this is what you see here on screen right now. I made this little bifold to house my mind map, but I actually wrote up my mind map on a separate scrap piece of paper, and it was really helpful in sort of visualizing my vision board, like visualizing what I wanted to visualize in my board. And so I sectioned off my vision board into different areas of my life. That's how I did it on my mind map. And so I just kind of translated that to my vision board. And so I took a cue from Allie, and she did her vision board on different pages of her One Little Word album. And so that's what I'm doing here, is I'm creating different vision boards on different pages of my journal. And so this first spread is about my home section. And so on my mind map, I have a section called home, and I just poured out all of my ideas on what I want my future home to be. And I really want to leave the city so badly. I really, really do not like living in New York City at all. I'm ready for a very quiet, very suburb, very middle of nowhere sort of life. And so a lot of the images that I pulled out from my home section were of little cottages and gardens, because I want a garden in my home. And so my vision board has a lot of nature in it, but that's what I visualize when I think of home or my future home. I want to be in nature. I want to have a small little house with a very big yard or like piece of land, and I want to cultivate that land. I want, flower flower beds, and I want rows of like vegetables and herbs and all these things, right? And so I just want to be with the earth. And so a lot of the photos that I picked out were very garden inspired, because I do want a garden. I want an area that's, kind of like a sanctuary where I can go and read or do art or whatever. And so a lot of the photos that I pulled out was that. And I just kind of chose my favorite photos to sort of visualize that home, right? I don't think I found like a small picture of a cottage. So I ended up printing one out of just like the entryway of a little cottage house that I thought was cute, and that just represents the fact that I want a cottage, right? And just again, a lot of nature. I do have a photograph of a little kitten that I pulled out from a magazine, because eventually, when I do have my own home, I would love an animal. Like, I have a dog now. He's very old. He is 14 years old, and he's sort of at the end, and I'm pretty sure he's going to stay with my mom. And so I don't want a dog, because I don't feel like walking a dog anymore after 14 years of walking a dog. But I do want a cat. And so I put a picture of a kitten in a cozy home with a stack of books, and I'm like, that is what I want. I want a kitten in my little cottage garden home. And so, yeah, that is how I pretty much built up this section. This whole double spread here is about my future home. This is the vision that I have for the home. I have been looking at houses that have land, because that is what I want. I want a house with land, preferably one, like I thought about it and I'm like, I know I say I hate New York City, but realistically, I don't want to live very far away from my mom. And so I've been looking around New York. I ideally would like a home with land that is close to some sort of transportation that can easily get me into the city, because I'm at the little conundrum here where I don't mind. I don't have my driver's license. Like, growing up in New York City, you don't need one. But I don't mind actually getting it. It's just I really don't want to own a car. I don't want the responsibility of having to maintain a car. I see what my mom has to go through with that, and I just I don't want it. I really don't want it. And so ideally, I would love to live somewhere where I don't really need a car, which may seem pretty impossible if you're going to live not in the city, right? But yeah, so like I have very strict criteria for where I'm looking at, but it's, it's all a vision, right? It's all a goal. And so I'm just taking that and rolling with it. And so once I had my images down, I kind of took out pieces that had words on it. And so, of course, I put the living among nature there because I do want to live among nature. I actually put the little crepe paper die cut of a bunny because, again, I just want to live amongst all of that nature. That Feels Like Home is a great title for the spread because it's about my home. Gently Tended, Lovingly Sown is about the garden that I want to create. And then these other two pieces, are more garden things. I Must Have Flowers Always and Always, and Sunny Days and Strolls Among the Prettiest Gardens. It's just to represent the garden. I think the garden is what I want the most. The house can be very small. I'm not fussed about that. It's the garden and the nature that I really, really want. So the next spread, which is the next page over, is I'm calling it my the self, right? This section of my mind map is all about myself, and what I ended up writing there were, just things that I want to pursue, things that I'm interested in, that I kind of want to keep doing if I haven't already done it before, right? And so this is my self page, right? Of course, I love beautiful things. I like things looking pretty and airy, and that's kind of what I want to manifest within myself. I have a very strict aesthetic, obviously, and so that's where the clothing comes in, breathing in new life. I want to, grow and change too, but just kind of keep that, I guess, more feminine aesthetic and just draw more of that femininity into myself. I have this beautiful stack of books here, and I used a little clipping from Daphne's diary that says sleep among hundreds of books because I have a stack of books that I want to get through this year, and that is a vision. I really want to cultivate a habit of just reading more. I used to read all the time, and then I don't know what happened. And so I want to bring that back, and so I have a whole page for it because I really want to do that. Then I just have an image here of a girl laying on grass amongst flowers, and that's cultivating a feeling. That's what I want to feel within myself. And so these images are all just supposed to represent things, right? They're supposed to represent tangible things like your reading goal or just how you want to feel within yourself. And so these were just some of my favorite images, and so I'm just putting them down. I have this little die cut of a camera and a bicycle, and then I stamped out little Capri. She's a Felicity Jane stamp. She's taking a picture because I really want to get back into kind of exploring photography. I really want to go on photography walks. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and I've done it a couple of times, but I never made it into a habit, and I want to make that into a habit, right? So that's what the camera represents, and that's what little Capri taking a photograph represents. It represents, just kind of the discovery. I want to get back into the whole creative self-portraits that I was taking before, and all these things. And so these are just ideas. These are things that I kind of want to do throughout the year, and just getting them down on my vision board so that I can just see it every time I turn to these pages is really important. And so that is what the camera represents, and that's what little Capri represents. And so the yellow bicycle piece, it's actually from a Pink Fresh Studio collection. I don't remember which one it is. It was one of the collections, the latest collection. I think it was an autumn collection. a recent collection. I just forget what it is, what it's called. It was the one that came out with, along with Happy Blooms, I think. Anyway, it is a yellow bicycle. I own a yellow bicycle that I don't know how to ride. And so I put the bicycle there so that hopefully in the spring and the summer I can start practicing and learning how to ride it. And so that's what a vision board is, right? It's just like you're basically visualizing your goals, visualizing your visions and your intentions and stuff like that. And so that is what that piece represents. And of course, I added like filler paper and that florals filler and that birds fillers just to decorate the page. I feel like I also end up putting some more phrases on this because what I did at the start before I sat down to do my vision board, I actually sectioned off all of the things that I gathered. So I gathered magazine clippings, I gathered like images and phrases and icons and stuff like that. And I sectioned them off into the sections of my vision board. And those are the ones that I'm using to build up the pages. And so yeah, I took these, I think these were in a different self section. I had like 2 different self sections and I ended up putting them here. So I put happy on the bicycle and then I put under breathing a new life, her soul wants to blossom. Because of course this is about myself. I want to grow in all of these places, right? With all of these kind of hobbies, like things that I want to pursue and stuff like that. And so I decided to put that there. And so this next page is like another extension of myself. I think on my mind map, I put like self connected to connections. So I think I had a section called connections and it was about, you know, connecting more deeply with friends and loved ones. I put love there. And then love connected to a fun project that I'm starting or that I've already started called Little Art Notes. I will leave a link to that in the description. But it's basically I going through, I think, writing something. I think it was writing something for my Gentle Unfurling Instagram account, which is what I'm using to also document my one little word and my unfurling process. I wrote about how I want to do things. I want to do all things from love. The podcast that I work for, there was an episode about joy and finding joy specifically in hard times. And the guest speaker, James Baraz, I believe his name was, he said something about joy and how to kind of cultivate and manifest joy within yourself. You do that by doing things from love, doing all things from love. And that's what I want to do this year. I want to do all things from love. I don't want to do things from fear or because I have to, because somebody says I have to, or I don't want to do things that I don't really want to do, but need to get done. I want to do all things from love. I want to react to all things from a loving place. And I just, you know, that's something you have to be mindful about, right? And so I connected that to my connections with people, and then I connected it to myself, right? Do all things from love, but that's also being loving to yourself. And so this is the extension of myself, right? I use this beautiful picture that I found in a magazine of a girl, and on top of it, I used a little sentiment that I found in Daphne's diary that says, "You were born to be real, not to be perfect." I always struggle with perfectionism, and even though I say I'm a recovering perfectionist, I am a recovering perfectionist, but I'm still working at it, right? It's like you don't turn not perfectionist overnight. It is something that you gradually have to work at. You have to continuously work at. And I know for me, I feel, you know, lately certain things have not gone the way that I hoped in my life. And, you know, for a while there, I thought I was a failure because I couldn't do things right or what I thought was the right way to do them. I couldn't maintain certain things that I really cared about. And for some reason, not being able to make certain things happen made me feel like a failure. And of course, that's just me. That's the perfectionist in me, right? Because I have certain expectations that I hold myself to, and that I hold other people to, but mostly myself, because it's fine for me to realize that other people can't do that, but I know I can, and the fact that I can't, I get really hard on myself. I always have to tell myself that I have to, you know, give myself room to breathe. give myself a little grace. But that's just perfectionist in me, right? And that's something that I really, really have to work very, very hard at, because I wasn't a failure. That wasn't a failure. In my head it is, but in reality it really wasn't. Just some things don't work out the way that you hope they would work out. Maybe they weren't really meant for you. I don't know. It's just a lesson for me in realizing that, giving myself grace, and learning to let go. And so I put another clip in here that I clipped from a Call magazine. It says, "The more you let go, the higher you rise." I have so much trouble letting go of things that I really care about, that I really want to make work. I'm very stubborn in that way, but there are just some things that are out of your control that you just need to let go. And so that little section there was just for me. It was, the first part of the self was just hobbies and things that I want to learn and pursue and grow in the knowledge of, right? To better myself, right? I think all of that's to better myself. And then I really needed a little section there that was literally about me and like my struggles and learning to let go, learning to give myself grace, learning that I'm not perfect, the world is not perfect, things won't happen perfectly. And that's the lesson that I really need to learn. Like, I think as time goes on, I do learn it more and more, but I think letting go, that was a huge thing when I was writing up my one little word, and my supporting words was letting go. Letting go. I love change, but I really need to let go so I can make that change happen, right? And so I just needed that. I needed that whole page there, and hopefully that's a part of my vision board that I come back to a lot. And so this next page, this is like a little tip-in that I had. So I left the front the same. It was like a Happy Little Moments thing from Maggie Holmes' collection. And I'm like, that's fine, Happy Little Moments. We need that, right? After the 2 years that we've all collectively gone through, we need a lot of happy little moments. So I've left that there. And on the back side, I decided to put my love things. So like my whole new thing now is just to do things from love, do everything from love. If I have to question it, then maybe it isn't from love, right? Just do all the things from love. Just treat people with love and kindness. And, I say joy, but I'm not in a place where I can share joy because I don't feel joyful myself, right? But what I can do is share kindness and share things from a loving place. And so this is this section. I actually printed out this photo. I used it for an Instagram post that I created that I haven't posted yet for my Gentle Unfurling account. But I printed it out because to me that's what love represents, right? It represents holding hands, it represents friendship, it represents romantic love, it represents, just the connection with somebody. And then I just pulled out pieces from Crate Paper. I think this is the Fresh Bouquet collection. So that little banner that says love of my life, and then the love. I have a digital collection, so I just kind of printed and cut them out. The bow is also from Fresh Bouquet. I just really like the aesthetic of it, and I wanted words that say love on them. And then I wrote out a bunch of phrases which I scanned in for a different project. So it's in my handwriting, and I think the one that I used said that we're all just looking for somebody that we like, that likes us back. And we can use that phrase in so many different ways. We're all looking for people, like our people that we like, that likes us back. Friends, romantic interests, just our community. We're all looking for family, separate from like biological family, but we're all looking for that place, right? And it's out of love, because we are innately drawn to love. We were created to love and to be loved. So I had to put that there because that represents that a lot. And so this is my mind map. These are my sections. I didn't visually document all of my sections. Like the work section, I didn't really document like visually, but everything else I pretty much did. I had this quote here from a magazine. I forget which magazine that I clipped it out, but it said, "The space that unfurls over the distance is a zone of discovery when explored with great effort and with honesty." And I thought it had unfurl in it, my word, gentle unfurling, So I wanted to put that there. And so I'm like, you know what? It would be excellent to put it on the empty spaces of my mind map. So I took a cue from Rosari and I used a photograph for the center of my mind map. I used a photograph of myself because my one little word for the year is becoming. And the definition that I'm using for that word is beginning to be me, right? And so having me at the center of my vision seemed to make the most sense. So I put a photograph of me, and I'm using these Felicity Jane alphas, these flat alphas, to write becoming, which is my word. And then underneath it, I just write out beginning to be, which is the definition that I'm using for. And then in parentheses, I write me. I don't think I do that on camera because I think I come back to it because I wrote beginning to be off-centered and it was bothering me so much. But I did come back and in parentheses write me in it, so beginning to be me. And yeah, I really loved doing the mind map. I loved doing the mind map. I loved creating the pages that I created. And I really, really enjoyed the process of creating this vision board. I really hope that I can manifest some of these visions into reality, but it's nice to have a focus and it's nice to have a visual focus, and that's the whole point of the vision boards, and that's why I love them personally so much. So yeah, thanks for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed this look at my process of creating my vision boards in my Unraveling journal, my one little word journal. It's like a hodgepodge of unraveling and one little word. I'm really enjoying the course. If you're taking the course, I would love to know what your word is and how it's coming along with you. I know we're only, well, by the time you see this, we're in March, so we'll have March's content up, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, how it's going for you. For me, it's going well, and I'm really, really enjoying the process. Now the hard part happens. It's, sitting down and getting goals done. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.